Agricultural Land Preservation Board is now in session. We are your voluntary representatives appointed by the county executive and confirmed by the county council to advise on matters involving agriculture and agricultural land preservation. We review and recommend on issues relating to existing and prospective Maryland agricultural land preservation foundation easements. Additionally, we make recommendations to the county on agricultural zoning issues, other issues relating to agriculture, and on county agricultural easements. Would the board members please introduce themselves by name and their farming affiliation? My name is John Merriman, and I have a grain farm in Upper Co, Maryland.
I'm Scott Welch. I have a nursery and greenhouses in White Marsh, Maryland.
Brenda Stromer, cow, calf, pig, goat operation in Woodstock, Maryland.
I'm Megan Benjamin, staff.
Joseph Wiley, staff.
I'm Amy Mante, Department of Planning.
Ann Jones, Baltimore County Land Trust Alliance.
Okay.
Okay, is it everybody that's on? Okay, I'll call on Megan to inform the members of the board of any changes to the preliminary agenda.
So we do have one additional item. It was emailed out to the board members yesterday. It's a complaint item that we will add to the miscellaneous section. And I have one other item, comments we received, that we'll add that to the miscellaneous section as well.
Okay, our next thing will be the approval of the minutes of the November or the January 13th, 2021 WebEx meeting. If there's any changes or
Do we need to make a motion to approve that?
we need a motion. I'll just give it time everybody to look it over. We need a motion to approve the January 13th meeting minutes.
So I'll make a motion.
We need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the minutes are approved from the January 13th meeting. Okay, that moves us to the Baltimore County easement landowner request issues are none. So we'll move on to the Baltimore County permits and development applications. And the first one will be from Jim Franzoni on his request to utilize a portion of his property to grow vegetables and other things on to be used in his own restaurant and possibly sell to wholesale to other restaurants. Okay, we need somebody to talk about that, or?
I can do that.
Okay.
Okay, I see Holly's joined, so I'll note that. So this request is for the 43-acre property located on Cloverland Drive. It's in an RC6 conservancy easement, and we are reviewing the intended use, agricultural use of the property. The landowner is requesting your review for legitimacy of agricultural use for their intention to build a barn. So it's hard to see the outline of the property here. If you go back one, Joe. So the open area that you see in the center there, that is the area that it's under easement, but is able to be farmed. The green hatched area, that is part of the property, but that is all in forest conservation. I can go to the next slide, Joe. These are some concept drawings of what they're intending to do here. You can see the entranceway lined with trees, the barn down in the center. We can let the landowner or consultant speak to the plans here. If you move forward, another slide, Joe. And another one. I visited the property. It was hard to see with the snow. And if you go another slide forward, or not. I thought we had, yeah, there you go. So you can see the tree shelters where a lot of the trees have been planted. The open area you can't see so well here. But this is all conceptual at the moment. There's nothing on the property, to my understanding.
Okay, from the board members, any questions? My question would be, what is the barn going to be used for?
I did undo Bruce and James, so.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Mr. Franzoni can get into the real weeds and the details, but the concept here is that he will be, like you said, Megan, he'll be growing crops, vegetables, and everything for his own restaurant, the Manor Tavern, as well as he may be selling those to other restaurants similar in their use. And the barn will be used for storage of equipment. It will be used for processing the food, the produce that is being raised on the property, as well as an office that will be providing the administration for that business. He lives right next door with his family, and so in turn, but this is a standalone operation here.
All right, how far down the road is this growing these vegetables? I mean, we looking at, you just continue, once he gets the barn built, you just go right on with putting the crop in the next year or two, or?
Yes, and not only doing that, but the hoop houses and everything else.
Okay.
He's already, and he can tell you, he's already, in his mind, they're already growing and ready to harvest. He's got it all planned out, and so in turn, this is somewhat of a representation of where it stands right now.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. How big is the barn?
It hasn't been determined yet. Would be roughly this scale and this size, but I think they're going to end up designing it from the inside out, depending on how he harvests things, how he processes things, the size of the administration. So
Bruce, Scott's on the phone. He can't see this, so.
Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. We can't exactly tell you. It will be. It will, in comparison to the size area it'll be, it's somewhat small, but you're probably looking at something that's probably still 40 by 100, 40 by 80, and those are only guesses, Scott. But it'll be commensurate to the size of the operation. Okay.
Sure, I understand. Okay, so the other question I have is he has 9 concept hoop houses, single individual Quonset. How big are they going to be?
Those, we haven't gotten that far. It'll depend on what they decide to grow in them and how it all works out with the use of them. So it hasn't been determined. Those are more conceptual than anything else, but they'll be roughly that size and
So where is the access road to the property?
If
Come off of the close end?
yes, sir. At the end of it, you'll see up there that it makes like a J, and at the end of that is access to this property. And then where you see it says 4017, that's the owner's home and property there as well.
You don't think the neighborhood would be upset about trucks driving through it?
There's only one house that you come past on, it would be the first one at 4021. And this is going to be wholesale. This is going to be mainly for his restaurant. I don't see many trucks going by this in a day, coming in and out of there during a day.
But if he chooses to wholesale it other than his restaurant, there will be.
Well, and the owner can speak to that, but it's been my understanding that, he may deliver the produce to the other places, but it's going to be a very minimal traffic back and forth. Remember, keep in mind, he lives here as well, and he wants to play well with his neighbors.
No, that's what I'm wondering. How they're going to accept that. Okay. That's the only questions I have.
Okay, any more discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none. Sorry, go ahead.
I had a question. Just being on site, there are a lot of deer there in the area. Are you planning to fence the area?
If it's needed, yes, ma'am. Megan, did you hear me?
I did, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
This is Ann Jones. I just had another general question. This is sort of a different type of easement, and I wanted to make sure the board was aware that this isn't sort of the land preservation easement, that it is this deed of conservation that happens when the property goes into development. And I'm a little confused. This area was not, is it surrounded by the forest buffer easement?
No, and it is a RC4 conservancy easement. That was where, when you do development in an RC4, that area is set aside as one. It's 70% of the entire property, and it's set aside as one entity. And it is surrounded by forest conservation easement, and that's where the trees have been planted.
So how is it going to get from the field to the barn if he's growing in the field and it's all surrounded by the forest conservation easement? Or am I missing something?
The lighter green on the what's shown here on the screen is the forest conservation where the trees are planted. The field are the darker green and hoop houses and everything else. So it's nothing more than taking it from the fields down the center pathway or on the driveway into the barn area.
Okay, thank you. That was the confusing, was the different greens there and what was
Yeah.
what. Yeah.
Yes,
See that now. Okay. Okay, any more questions or comments? So I guess what we need is a motion is for the legitimacy of an agricultural use on the property so that they can build a barn. That's the motion we need.
Okay.
Can you have a second? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, our next request is almost the same thing. Review of farm legitimacy of agricultural use of for an existing barn. The barn is existing and the property owner is asking for, I'm not sure, maybe Megan can bring us up to speed on this. Thank you.
So this is a property on Irish Avenue. It's in an MET and Manor Conservancy easement. The person requesting, making this, I believe, is the contract purchaser. They are intending to build a residence, as you can see here on the plan, the proposed dwelling. There's this existing structure here, which they're asking us to review and confirm that it is a barn per zoning because of the orientation of this house. If it's a barn, they would not need variances, but if it's determined to be an accessory residential structure, then there would be variances they would need. So if you go to the next slide. So this is the parcel in question. It's 18 acres, but the property includes this 15,867 to the north and the two kind of the triangle shape to the east. So a total of 35 acres that are part of the property. If you go to the next slide. So these are photos that Mr. Whitehurst submitted showing the structure. And then there are a few more after this that I pulled real estate listing for your look to determine if it's a barn. And I believe Mr. Whitehurst is on the line if there are questions.
You are muted, Mr. Whitehurst.
I'm muted.
You're unmuted.
Yes, I'm here if you have any questions for me.
What will be the agricultural use of the barn?
So horses, boarding horses. That's the existing use, and that will be our use as well.
So are there horses there now?
So there were horses on here for probably 20 to 30 years. While it was listed for sale, the horses were removed. And so you can see remnants of horses being boarded there. If you were to visit the site, Megan might have seen that. But immediately upon our purchase, it will become active again.
Isn't there a small residence on this property?
There is a existing tenant house on one of the parcels, yes.
So what's going to happen to that?
That's going to be used by a tenant to maintain the farm.
Was that a designated tenant house?
I believe it was. It's 670 square feet, and it might have been listed as such on the listing as well.
Where's the new house going to be built in regards to that?
If you go back, Megan, to your first slide. So the area shown as proposed dwelling is of course the new residence. To the east of that, you'll see what looks like three or four different structures, and the tenant house is sitting underneath of where the north arrow is sitting right now, almost where your cursor is, a little bit more to the east.
Okay.
Will you be boarding your own horses, or will you be in the business of boarding horses for other folks?
It'll be more business, but also some personal use in the future.
Okay. How much pasture is there?
There's about 20 acres of pasture.
Okay.
There's 5 stalls in the barn or the existing barn that we're discussing. And then there's another barn near the tenant house to the east of the proposed dwelling that can also board horses, but hasn't been used as such in a few years.
Mm-hmm.
You have enough hay storage for the number of horses you're planning?
Yeah, so one of the pictures, not on this slide, but you can see very large. Okay, so the picture on the left there.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Megan. So that picture on the left is where some storage can be. And then there's also storage above the stalls. And then we have a 40 by 40 by 60 barn that's near the tenant house. So there's quite a bit of storage here.
Okay, good.
Okay, any more questions or discussions or comments? Okay, hearing none, we need a motion for the legitimacy of an agricultural use of an existing barn on the Whitehurst property.
Okay, this is Steve again. I'll move that we recognize that the intent of the property will be boarding and pasturing horses.
Okay, here a second.
I'll
This
second
is-
it, John.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Hearing none, the motion passed.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, our next one is Robert, what's the pronunciation, Stribe?
Right.
Okay, he is, he wants us to recommend it whether the existing dwelling could be used as a tenant house. So, any background information on that?
Yes, so this is a 15-acre property right along Delaney Valley Road. The existing house labeled here is what they're requesting to be determined to be a tenant house. There are a couple of barns behind the house there. The contract purchasers are hoping to build a new residence and thus needing the existing house to be determined to be a tenant house. The current owner of the property, Mr. Stribe, would remain in the tenant house to continue the operation, which has, in their request letter, involves crops, hay, and pasture. If you go to the next slide. So it's hard to see with snow covering everything. So the top photo, you can see the barns. The other photo on the top is towards where they're showing on the plan the proposed house to be. Other photos of the fencing on the property. Is there another slide? So there's closer up of the buildings. And the board is being asked to consider if the current agricultural operation and scale justify the need for a tenant farmer on site.
Everybody should be on here. I can unmute.
Okay, what exactly is the agricultural operation there? What's going on the farm?
Hi, yeah, this is Michael Cook. I'm here. I have Mr. Stribe here as well.
Should I
And
unmute this one?
Ali, no, don't do it.
It's echoing.
Yeah, so mute that one. Sorry about that. We're all in a room. So currently they're growing specialty crop, boarding horses and growing hay. Mr. Stribe is currently living there, operating the farm. Ali and I do not have the knowledge to run a full-scale agriculture operation, and we've talked to Mr. Stribe to work out a deal if we purchase the property to have him continue running the farm operation.
What are the specialty crops?
The specialty crops are fruits and vegetables. He's had a successful roadside stand there that he started, I believe, last year. And the community was enjoyed the stand. He did quite a bit of business there, and the crop was grown there and nearby farms.
Is the hay harvested for horse use on the same farm? Or is the hay sold?
For use on the farm and also outside sales. I've got a 60 by 150 building there that I store hay and equipment with. I farm some other area hay crops on other properties in the area. Been doing it for 30 years.
I will note The location where the proposed house is showing us some of the best ag soils on the property, right in the middle of the field there.
So I'm being told that that's the only place that the new proposed dwelling perks, and I don't believe it breaks up the property.
It's the back corner of the property, the only location it would perk. That's why that whole property is existing, because originally when I purchased it from Cloverland, it wouldn't pass perk, and he left the house up.
So is the access road to the new house going to be off Delaney Valley or off the driveway existing in the property now where the tenant house would be?
And it would be off the very far end. It's a 20-foot right away off the very far end of the property, which take up least amount. It would keep a pasture in one piece rather than splitting it up if the house was located anywhere else.
Okay, so the driveway wouldn't come out through the middle of the farm. It would go out along the property line.
Right, the property line.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Any more questions or discussions or comments?
And we'd be glad to minimize the area around that proposed house so not to take up any more of the ag land that we needed to. That wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah. Well, if it's a hayfield, you could have it up. You wouldn't have less grass to mow.
As far as I'm concerned, that's the way it is on my farm.
Out of curiosity, didn't this property have an ability to cut off one lot?
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me turn the volume up. It's echoing. Can you turn the volume down there? What did they say?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, didn't this property have an existing lot that you could cut off?
Didn't this property have an existing lot? I believe it could be subdivided, but we have no intentions of subdividing.
If I may, this was lot 29 of Cloverland Farms, and the intention of this was to be a lot of record, but because it didn't perk, they allowed it to the existing very small house to stay. But since then, it has perked in the area that we were discussing for a small house or a house to be up on that far end of the property.
Okay, any more questions or comments or? Okay, hearing none, I need a motion for the recommendation of an existing dwelling as a tenant house, so that the contractor can build another house on the property.
Okay, so moved. This is Steve again.
All right, do you hear a second? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on in the agenda, is there any of the status of easements, transactions, inspections? Is anything there?
Well, do we want to do the complaint next?
Yeah, well, I got the status was next, but yes, the complaint. Okay, we'll move on to the code complaint on Compass Run. Need some updated information on that.
Yeah, so Baltimore County Code Enforcement received this complaint in January after our board meeting, so I had to bring it to this board meeting. You guys were supplied with the original email. Neighbor complaint about manure storage being stored within the 150 feet of the property line. But in the code, it says it has to be stored beyond that. I did call Soil Conservation District. The property does not have a soil conservation plan. I did send this down to Nutrient Management and MDA. I did hear back from them. They did say that this sounds more of a code enforcement issue, not an agricultural issue. I know Erica said she was out on the property.
Yes, I was. Matt Hill, they had called me to just come out and look at their pastures and the complaint as well. Honestly, the manure pile is very small. It's behind a shed that is kind of like a barn for their tractors and such. They only have 4 horses. It sounds as if they and the other folks on this lane have had issues with this neighbor. So it's just like everything they do is complaining. I honestly didn't even see the manure when I got there. I was like, where do you keep it? So I had to like walk around these trees and the shed to even see it. And so we discussed other options, you know, a heavy use area that we could store the manure somewhere else. The problem is with this property is that it's very hilly. It goes straight down into like kind of a valley and then it drains out into their pond. So it's kind of it's an awkward property to find an actual flat spot. So they might have to get some excavation done and to move it off of that property line. But I mean, I gave them some resources and I don't know where it went from there.
Is it really that much material there? I mean,
no. I told them they actually bed down in straw, so I gave them the number to Fast Track, which is a mushroom company in Pennsylvania or Rising Sun area. I said, call them and see when they're down in this area. They'll come pick it up for you. So they may have done that because it was probably like a couple wheelbarrow loads. It wasn't even enough to make a fuss over, but that gentleman behind them is making a fuss over everything.
Well, you could also, up at One Straw Farm, they have a truck farm operation, you know, and they take all their organic material and plow it down. So they could have brought, you know, somebody could have just filled up a wagon and manure spreader and talked to them. I'm sure they take it. They've taken it from me before.
Right. And the gentleman was actually, he started composting it for his own use because he was going to put some gardens in. And he was like, this is too much of a pain for me to deal with. So, yeah, that's a good option.
Yeah, the board, I don't know if you guys read the original email, but it does seem it's more of a neighbor dispute than an agricultural issue.
Yeah, this is John, Joe. It's not in their purview anyway to do anything about this, is it? I mean, that's a
code enforcement sent it to us to see, you know, is what they're doing a typical agricultural practice. Even in the original complaint email, the guy did say it's stored at days at a time. It's not being stored there in a giant pile permanently. It's stored there for a couple of days until it's removed. You know, at least to me as staff, it sounds like an agricultural property, and Erica as the extension. Erica, well, I don't know what your official title is, but
I'm the ag agent in extension.
So, you know, she's saying this seems appropriated. Either the board itself has to find, is this a typical agricultural practice?
I would say yes.
Yeah. As long as livestock is manure.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a neighbor issue, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a typical agricultural use. I mean, you know, the guy's got animals, there's going to be manure on the farm, and he's not allowed to spread it right now. So he's going to have to stockpile it somewhere. So him and his neighbor ought to get together on where he can stockpile it.
Yeah, I mean, and the property was immaculate. I've been to plenty of horse farms. They have, you know, 30 horses on 1 acre. This is 4 horses on 10 acres of fields. I mean, it was a beautiful farm, so there's nothing to complain about.
Okay.
So I'm not 100% positive if you guys need to make a motion or.
I think we need to stay out of it.
Agreed.
Well, if you look on the back of this, it says manure must be stored in places removed at least 150 feet from all boundary lines of the lot. And I will bet you that some of these big piles of chicken manure that's being dumped in Baltimore County right now, some of them aren't 150 feet from the property line because the guys are lucky to get the truck off the road.
Yeah.
So if you're going to start down this road, then you're going to have all the other piles of chicken manure falling under this purview. And I really don't think that's fair to the farmers. So I think just stay out of it and let him and the neighbor straighten it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, we do need to send something back to code enforcement from the board. So
Tell them it is a typical farm operation. That's what I was thinking about, guys.
okay.
The rest of you guys think. Steve?
I agree. John, you're 100% correct. The typical farm operation, usually they throw it in the spreader and then periodically they take the spreader to designated fields and spread it.
Hey, how about Holly, Brenda, Scott? What's your opinion?
This is Brenda. I agree. Typical farm use, agricultural.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. That's a consensus.
I agree too.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, just can we send that back or do we don't need to make a motion or anything on that, do we?
That's 4 out of 5, so that's definitely a.
Okay.
Amy, do you think we need an official motion? You don't know? Okay, yeah. 4 out of 5 is good enough for me. We got you on record.
Thanks for taking care of that, Joe. I appreciate it. Okay, the next one even makes me scratch my head. Mike Ruby has sent a letter here to Megan wanting to know if anyone had been contacted by the Inspector General Kelly Madigan or her assistant regarding shenanigans at the Baltimore County Agricultural Center during the prior administration. And I don't know exactly what this is all about, other than it does say down here that of any materials and or documents that have been removed from the Ag Center's administration offices within the past year. If so, what materials and documents? This is from Mike Ruby, who's the editor for the Chronicle. I don't know where he heard all this or if anybody has even talked to the Inspector General or even knows the Inspector General.
So if I may,
Please, Megan.
he sent these comments in by email. We allow for the Ag Board to have comments on any of the items on the agenda. He sent this in under miscellaneous, and they are more questions than comments, but I can share that there was just a report from the Inspector General's office that came out today regarding, I assume, what his questions may have been about operations at the Ag Center and mainly things that happened during the prior administration. Our current county administrative officer, Stacy Rogers, also sent a response to the report about how these issues are being dealt with. So the Ag Center, this isn't in the Ag Board's purview, although we do enjoy meeting at the Ag Center during non-COVID times. But I don't know if anyone has any response to the comments, but I would give this, if anyone is interested in seeing it, we can share that. It's probably online. So that would be my response. And then, do you want to move on to the other status reports?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see.
I did the second baseline for FY 2020. We did the first one last week. There is a slight issue. So that was Miss London's property. As I did the baseline, the property itself is fine, but there was a problem with the survey that was submitted, recorded, and done to the state. Apparently, there's information that is incorrect done on the survey that was submitted back in November. So that the state's been trying to reach out to the surveyor to see exactly why everything on his survey is wrong. So that's holding up the easement. Just today, I went out and did the baseline on Steve Piper's property. That was the one right there on Mount Carmel Road at the intersection of 83. There was no issues found, so that should be going on the easement in the next couple months.
I'll also add that our mouth deadline is April 30th, so please help spread the word. Anyone that you know that may be interested, please send them our way. We are sending a postcard out, much like we did last year. If you have any names of folks that you think should receive that, please let us know and we can add them to the list. The county ag easements, the slate of rankings that you approved was finally approved by County Council last week. So we're moving forward with the first on that list to process those easements through the county program. The county executive is hosting a series of budget town halls, much like he did last year. They start next week, the 18th, and there's one in each district. So if you're interested in that, please let me know and we can get the schedule out to you. Last year, there were a lot of folks that came and spoke in support of land preservation funding. So that was great. And we do have funding that we are using now, both for the county ag program and county rural legacy. So that was important. One other item to note, it was shared with me that Brenda was named the 2019-2020 Maryland Women's Field Hockey Coach of the Year by the National Federation of High School Associations. So congratulations to you, Brenda.
Well, thank you. It's quite an honor. I love coaching.
That's great.
It's a lot of fun. The girls are awesome, but thank you.
You're welcome. I think those are our only items. February 10th is the next meeting. We do have one more item, but we wanted to go through all of these things first. And the next item is the Brenda Stromer, your property. So I believe you're recusing yourself from that. So we'll take that.
Okay. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night,
Thank
Brenda.
you.
Thanks, Brenda.
All right. Let me know what you all decide. Thanks.
Okay, we have a landowner's request for the verification of a farm use for a farm stand on Brenda Stromer's farm. And you can give a quick look at what they got in mind for selling on that stand and maybe the background from
So we need verification of farm use so they can get a farmer's roadside stand, which would allow them to sell their produce, but also other people's produce also. The acreage is wrong. They do have more than 57 acres, but they are 3501 on Hernwood Road. So this is out in actually Woodstock, for those who don't know. They own both parcels. So the current stand is located kind of right in the driveway. The little green rectangle is where the new stand will be located. Brenda said this is kind of their ag tourism area. They have a bunch of pens set up for animals and picnic tables, stuff like that. They did go already and purchase the building, but it's not being used as such. So this is the building that will be used. As you can see, the picnic tables. The parking area is the bottom picture, but as everybody knows, everything is covered in snow. It's a little hard to see. The building is there in the background. Kind of that, if you can see my cursor, it does stick up. So, and of course the pens. They do have ducks and chickens and turkeys and you know, they have a mixture of everything. They have cows, they have pigs, they have chickens. I think I said chickens twice. They do have an emu that's walking around. You know, they have a little bit of everything. So when I, you know, these are pictures. So I just showing my thoughts that, in my opinion, that they are a legitimate farm and the board should recommend it.
I think it's about as legitimate as you can get.
That's for sure. I like their cornbread.
I like everything about it. I like what they're trying to do.
Yep.
Okay, do we have any more discussion, questions, or comments? So I need a motion for the verification of farm use for a farm stand at Brenda Stromer's farm.
Okay, I motion for use of a farm stand on the property.
Need a second on that?
I'll second it.
John, would you mind just, it's a farmer's roadside stand. That way there's clarification.
Okay, well, that's not on the request. Okay, it didn't have that on. Sorry. For a farmer's roadside stand.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Now that it's passed, you'll all have to go there for one of her goat yoga sessions. You know, she does run them, and I think the ag board and goat yoga would be a really good combination. I'm just saying.
Yogurt or yoga?
Yoga.
Yes, yoga.
Whatever.
Yogi bear.
Oh, no. Okay, our next meeting, I think, is March 10th. Is that correct? Okay. Any other comments or anything I got to say? Good to see you, Steve. I can just see the top of your head.
That's my best part, John.
Okay.
Top of my head. That's where all the Lord is.
Yep. Okay, I think we can adjourn the meeting then. Thank you all.
Everybody be careful going home.
Good.
See you guys later.
See ya.
See ya.